Jason Delgado here with Director Joe Wein of
Mm,
the documentary 76 Days, captivating documentary. If you want to
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about it,
Sure. It's Thank you for having me on this.
thank
It's based on Adrift 76 Days Lost at Sea by Steven Callahan, a New York Times bestseller. It's a great book. Um, and I got to do an extended interview, a detailed interview with Steven. He actually had some 8 millimeter footage from when he crossed the ocean the first time. The accident happened on the way back, and some old photos, and we did some recreation to retell his story of when his sailboat got hit by a whale in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and he floated and survived on this raft, an inflatable raft, for 76 days. And it's how he was able to get food and get water, and a whole ecosystem would developed around this raft. And it's just this incredible survival story and human spirit story.
Yeah, just a amazing story. I mean, it really sounds like my worst nightmare. I mean, what about you? Be lost at sea? You know,
Yes, absolutely, and I definitely think that even when you're reading the book, to you vicariously put yourself in that position, and what would you have done, and how would you be able to survive? And there's certainly like a puzzle and puzzles within puzzles, and yeah, so no, I don't think I would have made it past day one. Like I definitely would have made some mistakes right off the bat. But there's also, I guess, and really what brought me into the story is there really is a universal story in it. Just the idea of dealing with struggle, and that everybody has to deal with in life, and doing what you need to do to get across the ocean, and the big of it, like where are you and where are you trying to get to, and then the daily, day by day, of what do I do right now? What I get up and what can I do? What's in kind of the slow beat by beat of how do I tend to the raft? How do I get water? There's sharks attacking. The boat has holes in it. Like how do you deal with it and not become emotionally overwhelmed? And give yourself he makes mistakes. Give yourself the forgiveness to make mistakes, and to learn, and to deal with it.
yeah, and I love your recreations of everything. It really does feel like you're experiencing this like he did, and
Thank you,
especially
Jason. Yeah.
especially that scene under the night stars, where he explains, out in the ocean, just everything is so clear, and he sees all that beauty in the sky, and yet, he's suffering at the same time, and yeah,
It,
just
it
amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, and that's just all. Stephen also happens to be, a beautiful writer, and he kept a journal while he was on the raft, which has ended up being how really he was able to make this documentary. I mean, this happened years ago, and he still had this journal. So he actually took out the original journal, and he had a bunch of the original artifacts, and like the spear and all that kind of stuff that he was able to create. And when I went and did this interview with him afterwards, he went with me to the Virgin Islands, and made sure I got everything right. Make sure he helped rebuild the spear. He helped rebuild and I mounted a camera on myself to do all this. But definitely the recreation stuff was was a real trial. But we were actually out in the ocean. I was actually out on the we were out on a raft, and we got an original raft like he had, and all the original supplies like he had, and we did it. But I think when you're following the story again, like you're saying, you vicariously want to do it, so we see him telling the story, and then we are him doing it. It really puts you right in his seat. So
Yeah, and I wanted to ask what was the biggest, what were your biggest challenges? I mean, obviously the recreations, I would think.
yeah, there were a number of big challenges. I would say that it was good to tell a story about someone who had to deal with the big trial, because I was constantly dealing with, like, just getting, first there was getting the rights to this book, and the story, and there was getting this interview, and which it was, Eric Atkins, the DP, and I went down to Maine, and we went over to, and we interviewed Steven, and we started to really get into it. And I think it was, we had to dig. And then once I brought it back, there's, just editing all this together, going back and then shooting stuff. So it took years to make this film. But then for sure, the stuff that we shot in the Virgin Islands was, I manufactured a unique camera setup specifically for this, and then I staged a whole thing and basically in my garage to rehearse it and figure out how we're going to do all this, so that once we got to the ocean, which was still totally unpredictable, but we had to be brought out in a boat, and we had to be put on there, and then every day we had to there's salt water and everything. And it's interesting because we had to shoot it chronologically, because everything did deteriorate. I mean, just like in his story, over 76 days, the salt water is deteriorating everything. And like even the raft is warranted for 40 days, so it hits 40 days. He's like, it's really meant to last like 3, usually you get picked up within like 3 days. So 40 days was pushing it. And then every day past that, it's, but it was incredible just we spent like 2 or 3 weeks shooting it, the recreation part of it. But just in that, everything got rusty, things fell apart, things broke. I mean, it just like, by the time we were done, it was just a pile of nothing, So it's incredible what he was able to work with.
Yeah, definitely. And the question I had, in the film, he talks about he really wanted to change his personal life around. He had a failed marriage, and did
Yeah,
are you able
yeah,
to say did he after?
yeah. No, I think that's a great question, actually. And I do, that was sort of that was part of what kept him going, was just that he didn't want to die as this kind of unfulfilled, unrealized guy, and I think we can all sort of relate to that. And yeah, he's got a beautiful, lovely wife, and then he ended up working for Avon for a little bit. The raft he helped manufacture, so he improved the safety equipment. He wrote a great book, and he continued to be a part of an important part of the sailing community. And yeah, I think he really got to live his better life by surviving. He also was a part, I mean, which is part of how I found out that he was still around to do the documentary. And Ang Lee did Life of Pi, which is an amazing movie. Um, I realized, like, I was like, oh, there's a lot of similarities between this book. Like, I just loved this book and was like able to read this book at first, but and I watched the movie, and then I saw that he was a consultant on that film, and Ang Lee actually went and got him, because of this, and brought him in to keep everything really authentic. And that's part of how I realized that he's sort of still around and active, and that's when I was like, I gotta do this. I gotta make this film.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's an incredible film too, and
Yeah, I love that film.
yeah, and I can see the similarities now.
Yeah.
The, does Steven still go sailing much?
He
Or?
does. He still sails, right? If I think he gets asked that, but yeah, he's it's in his soul. He is a sailor. He designs boats, he builds boats, his friends are sailors. I mean, and I have definitely been introduced to the sailing community through this. I am not a sailor. I don't have that background. But it's an amazing community of people. They really are. I mean, just it's a real tight bond. They know him, from I think the book originally, but it's been very ingratiating, and they've been actually very helpful. The sailing community helped put together this movie. I mean, they helped get me the raft. They helped get me the materials. They helped get me out on the ocean. I mean, it's been a very supportive group of people. And actually, the other person just want to mention too is Patrick Stump, who did the music for this. He is a friend of mine and just an amazing musician. And it was just I'm very grateful that he was a part of this, and he really brought this whole movie to life with the, I think with the score. I think the score is amazing, and because of the way we shot it, like we were talking about with this sort of POV, you really like it's the music also helps tell you kind of give you a sense of what he's thinking and what he's feeling, as well as the this sort of real harrowing adventure. And it's there's 100 minutes of music in this, and he really pulled it together. So he was the last important element in this.
I agree, and I love that Iggy Pop cover he does at the end too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So and people will get to hear that for the first time in Santa Barbara. Yeah, so I think he did a great cover of The Passenger for the final credits too.
Yeah. So is Patrick gonna do more scores? Do you know if?
Yes, I mean he's I think he would love to do a lot more of that, and he's just a super talented guy, and he's really good at it. I mean, he had to do such a range of music on this, so I think you'll be seeing a lot more of him doing scores for
Oh,
sure.
great, great. What? So what? Can you tell us? Let's see. What was there anything cut out of the film, like you know s- you didn't have time for that?
You know, because we took so long to make the movie, I would say that we really got it in there.
Yeah.
I probably had like 50 hours at least of footage that I edited it, and so getting it down to the hour 45 that it is, we there. I mean, really everything that's significant we got in there, and I would say even there was things that I wasn't aware of going in that we had, just looking at all this old footage and going through and digitizing all the 8mm stuff, and it was great because the book, not only I feel like this is a real nice visualization for that works with the book, but it also has this emotional and sort of, I guess, spiritual type element to it, and I feel like we were able to find ways to bring that into the film as well. So I do. I feel like we got it. I'm very proud of the film, and I'm excited to share it with people.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to do a review for Film Threat for it.
Oh,
So
great. Oh, great. Thank you.
yeah, no
Fantastic.
problem. I saw in the end credits, you in the special thanks, Errol Morris, and I got to ask you about that because
Yes, I don't know Errol Morris. I thanked Errol Morris because I am just a huge fan of Errol Morris,
yeah,
and he was a inspiration for how I shot this. I did set up my own Interatron. Errol Morris really, I mean, he's certainly the guy that gets credited for taking two teleprompters essentially and having someone look in one and you be in the other. And it was very important to me to take someone that wasn't an actor or whatever and let them be really relaxed and tell their story and have them look directly down the barrel of the camera. So when we went to Maine, I did bring up an Interatron type setup, um, and at first, I think Steven was like, "Whoa, what is all like?" I was this crazy setup, but then after a little bit, you really do relax, and you're just having a conversation. He was looking at it, and for me, the way I wanted to tell it with Ben, I wanted to have a camera mounted to me so that he's looking at us, and then we are him, living it, rather than seeing an actor's face or somebody else, which I think would have been sort of disorienting. So it was important that he look in the barrel and that then we look out of the barrel. So in order for that to line up, I borrowed that from Errol Morris. So I thanked him, but I don't know him. Love to meet him.
yeah. I love his films. I mean,
Yeah, me too. I'm a big fan.
yeah. So yeah, I'm sure it's exciting to go to Santa Barbara Film Fest. You know, but are there plans for the film afterwards, or not sure yet? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, we are still working on what it is, but for sure we will be going to other places and we'll be finding other ways for people to see it. And this is just sort of our, initial launch. And I'm very excited to be launching it at Santa Barbara, the Santa Barbara Film Festival. And it's going to be the first screening will be on Thursday of February 8th, and the second one will be on the following Monday on the February 12th, and we hope people will come and watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Will you be at the screenings?
Yes, I'm gonna be at both of them. I'm gonna be doing a QA at both of them, and Steven actually is gonna be at the first one and do a QA with me. Robert Sennett, producer on it, will also be at there. A lot of the crew will actually be there also. But yeah, so I'll be at both of them, and I'll be doing QAs at both of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is there anything else you want to let us know?
No, I mean, I'm grateful I got to tell this story. I loved it as a book, and I just think it's a poignant, universal story that's also a great adventure and riveting.
It really is. I mean, I just really enjoyed it so much, and
Thank you, appreciate it.
and thank you very much for coming on today.
Yeah, anytime.
All right,
All right,
all right.
thanks, Jason. All
Thanks.
right.